I break down everything from single target DPS to fun factor to show just how Brahminy and Kumawink stack against each other and other favorite builds. But first we need to explain what bounce is and how it works on each weapon. Bounce seems simple, but it can be a lot more confusing than it looks. Let's start simple. Bounce count means how many times a single projectile can ricochet. By default, bounce ricochets 2 times. So a weapon like Brahminy with bounce count plus 2 will bounce up to 4 times. But there's another stat called bounce trigger count. This controls how many projectiles are created when bounce triggers. So adding +1 trigger count effectively makes bounce occur twice when triggered, doubling the number of possible ricochets. And normally, bounce target prioritization is completely random. But Kumawink flips the script. Its bounce count is capped at 2. Bounces will always ricochet back to the primary target. And triggering bounce causes up to 3 projectiles to spawn by default. But if you add bounce trigger count +1 from reloading and bounce trigger count +1 from sharp blade pants, that's 3 targets times 3, or 9 total projectiles times 2 ricochets each, for a maximum total of 18 ricochets from 1 bullet. So now that we understand what bounce is and how it works on each weapon, let's get to our first scoring category, which is single target DPS. Brahminy wins when only 1 target for bounce is available. This is because the weapon can bounce up to 8 times, with 4 hits being the ground and 4 hits being the primary target, which can cause massive single target burst damage. But Kumawink suffers when only 1 target for bounce is available. It thrives when your main target is surrounded by selectable bounce targets, so that we can maximize the number of rebounds to the primary target. These DPS numbers were taken with Mixed Fried Hot Dog, Wolf Deviant, Max Calibration, and Blueprint Stars, but only level 1 mods to keep it realistic for most players who aren't able to get God Rolled mods. Kumawink only managed 101,000 DPS with only 1 enemy nearby, but it soared to 193 DPS with at least 9 targets nearby. Brahminy's DPS with only 1 target was 148,000 DPS. And in my pre-version 2.0 testing, KVD Boom Boom topped the chart at 223,000 DPS. I give single target DPS 8 points possible, and I scale it based on the highest damage. Kumawink gets 6.9 with nearby enemies, or 3.6 without. Brahminy gets 5.3 points. Check out my spreadsheet linked in the description for more testing details and to see updated DPS numbers as I retest them. Also, if you appreciate this actual numbers-based testing comparisons and not just, bro, this is so awesome builds, please hit subscribe. I do deep comparisons like this regularly as I am able, and your support keeps me going more often. Thank you so much. So, Kumawink has taken an early lead, but there is a big surprise in our next category, AOE. Kumawink can hit a lot more targets than Brahminy can, but since all of the bounces only rebound back once to the primary target, it's surprisingly unsatisfying to me as an AOE weapon. It does a lot better at bursting down priority targets while just softening up nearby enemies. At least, that is when it's compared to Brahminy. Brahminy takes nice meaty chunks out of everything nearby. Its random bounce target prioritization and higher per shot damage can make its AoE uneven, but its AoE damage output is highly satisfying compared to Kumawink. But one more incredibly important note is that the range of each weapon's bounce is an insane 25 meters. If you thought KVD Boom Boom or Critical Pulse had insane range, they're only effective at about 5 meters. Bounce damage does decay over distance, but its effective range is still incredibly satisfying. So for the scores, I give AOE 6 possible points. Even though its range is 5 times less, I feel that KVD Boom Boom still takes the top score given how stupidly high and consistent its AOE damage is. When compared to that standard, I give Brahminy 4 points and Kumawink gets 2. But before we get to the next section, I'd just like to say to all the KVD Boom Boom haters, please go off in the comments. The nicest things my brain tells me makes your insults feel like motivational cat posters. But if you'd like to respectfully criticize or compliment my scoring, that would make my day. So, Brahminy takes a narrow lead, but can it stay ahead in our next category, Team Utility? I define Team Utility as things that either buff friendly allies, like Fortress Warfare, or debuff enemies in a way that benefits allies, like Bullseye, Power Surge, Frost Vortex, etc. Unfortunately, neither bounce nor either weapon's unique features give any team utility, so both weapons get 0 points in this category. So we probably won't be too surprised by the scores in the next category, Personal Survival. This includes things like mobility boosts, self-healing, or anything else unique to a weapon or its build type that helps you stay alive. You can build both bounce weapons in such a way that you will heal on kills, but this is something any weapon or build can also do. Since they don't have any unique features in this category, both weapons again get 0 points. But now it gets interesting again in our next category, Ease of Use. I give this category 2 points. Kumawink does very well as a spray and pray weapon, so I give it 1.7 points. Brahminy is a little harder to use as it's a sniper which requires just a little more aim skill, so I give it 1.5 points. So this brings us to our next category, Fun Factor. I give this category 1 possible point. Brahminy's damage per shot takes such satisfying chunks out of enemies that I give it 0.8 points. Kumawink is just a little less satisfying, so I give it 0.6 points. So this brings the final scores for this round to Brahminy at 11.6 points, just narrowly beating Kumawink at 11.2 points. But since this is a series, you also get to see how they compare to other weapons I've covered. But version 2.0 has buffed a lot of weapons, so there's a lot more to test. Subscribe so you can catch these videos as they come out, and keep checking that spreadsheet to see where your favorite build lands next. Thanks so much for watching.